away we go. A wacky Wednesday, man. NFL headlines. We are being bombarded the last hour, especially in the wide receiver market. We'll get into all that. It's Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studio here at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee, which is officially my home for another year and a half as I signed a new apartment lease yesterday.
So proud of you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Joshy DiMaggio here as well. That's the voice you hear. And producer Tiny Hands Hunter Vaughn is back at the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. So I want to get into the wide receiver stuff because there's a ton of news. Tyler Lockett released by the Seattle Seahawks, Christian Kirk released by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and DK Metcalf officially requesting a trade from the Seattle Seahawks, all within the last half an hour. Since Hunter and I jumped off our pre-show meeting, that has all come through. So I want to get into that as well as obviously the big news of Davante Adams being released by the New York Jets yesterday. We will get into all of that in just a moment. But first, before we go any further, I need to have a little convo with my buddy Josh.
A little one-on-one,
just me and you for a moment. Do you have any idea what I did last night?
Not the faintest of ideas.
So my evening started by, as it seemingly has a couple times the last week, getting a drink with a mutual friend right here at our bar here at the Third Street Market Hall. Just one, and then I walked home.
Wow, proud of you.
And then
the only one.
It was Tuesday. I mean, I'm not getting too crazy.
It's 4 days in a row for you.
Is that right? That is right. Oh, boy. Thanks for calling that one out.
You got it.
Let's slow down accountable. Attaboy. Yeah, no kidding. So I get home, and I catch wind that there was a concert in town.
Okay.
Over at Fiserv Forum.
Okay.
Are you aware who played Fiserv Forum last night?
No idea. If I were to guess and factor you in, it's someone like a Stained.
Okay, you're in the right wheelhouse. We will get into that in a second. So I open my phone, I see that this band, amongst a couple other bands I like, is at Fiserv, but the event started 2 hours before I opened this.
How large is the ticket? Like, how many people are on this at this concert?
I mean, it was a sold-out show.
No, I'm saying, how many bands? Is it going to be like a 4-hour plus show?
It was 3 bands.
And if you wanted to see the headliners, 2 hours after the start time does leave you time to get there.
I saw the entirety of the headliner. I ended up going.
Yes.
So I called my buddy who I grew up with, my buddy Adam, who I've known since I was 3. And, we kind of grew up listening to the same music. So I called him and he said, whoa, I'm in downtown Milwaukee right now. Let's do it. So I went on a second market ticket app, found really cheap tickets, $40 a pop. We're in the third row, really good seats.
The only problem with those sometimes, and I've run into this, is sometimes they take up to an hour to transfer.
Oh, we were good.
So I've bought last minute. I've bought last minute, got in 5 minutes later. I've bought last minute and missed a half of the show.
So I bought them. I walked out of my apartment, walked to Fiserv.
Perfect.
And they were in my hand by the time I got to Fiserv. Now, the first band on the ticket was Seven Dust. We missed Seven Dust.
Yeah. You got the privilege of missing Seven Dust.
I've seen them before. They're actually really fun. Their drummer is their lead singer, which is kind of unheard of.
I prefer my drummers to be from Under Oath, the famous screamo band from the two early 2000s.
Yes, of course. The second band that played, one of my all-time favorites, and I missed all of it. 3 Days Grace.
Butt Rock.
And the headliner, touring the 25th anniversary of their album, The Sickness.
Yeah.
Disturbed.
Yeah.
I went to a Disturbed concert last night.
Yeah. I mean, I said the word butt rock, which is a word you discovered from me saying it.
Semi-recently, yeah.
Semi-recently. So, to go back, I love the idea of you spur of the moment, there's a concert, I'm going to go. I've done it many times before. Sometimes I intentionally do go to concerts and skip the opener because I want to see X, Y, and Z. Very rarely am I impressed with an opener. I think there's been probably a handful of times where I'm like, I'm glad I came to this.
I agree.
Because I discovered the group Sylvan Esso.
No idea what that is.
You would recognize the song. They're pretty popular in certain factions. But it was a band that Justin Vernon from Bon Iver was in.
Oh, sure.
So I went to that and I said, hey, I'm glad. I like this band. I've now listened to that band since going there. Now I've gone to concerts more recently, saw the opener and said, that sucked. Now you knew all of them.
I did, and I had seen Seven Dust before.
How much off of face value did you end up paying to go see a third of the concert but really seeing the headliner?
It was about 33% of the market value.
Perfect.
So we got a really good deal. Good seats.
Yeah, because the person who owns those tickets is going to sell them for anything at all.
You're right. It's kind of what the Jets were doing with Davante Adams, right? Give me literally anything, and I'm happy. So yes, got in there, got a beer, got a brat, went to we saw the very last song of 3 Days Grace.
Yeah.
And then,
your 15, 20-minute wait until the next band.
Let's Start a Riot. You know that song?
No.
Okay. It's actually just called Riot, I think, but Let's Start a Riot. So we saw them play that, then they were done, and then it was all Disturbed. I'm not the biggest Disturbed fan by any means.
Did you hear the
I actually did record it. I meant to send it to Hunter, and I didn't. But I did record said wah. I actually really enjoyed it. They put on a really fun show.
So you have a music taste that bothers me. This style of butt rock and like a...
There you go. That's last night at Fiserv Forum.
This style of music is for suburban guys who listen to this in their 20s, who are now in their 50s or late 40s.
Yep.
And the artists aren't particularly that good anymore. The music isn't as clean. They leave a lot to be desired. Butt rock is meant as an insult. It is meant to be something that is portraying we are like metal, we're hard, but we are really just kind of a dorky, not that relevant band anymore.
I would like to say one thing, though, about myself, about me enjoying what you dub as butt rock.
Yeah.
If we've learned anything about Alex Strouf in the last week, right, let's go from Combine last Wednesday to right now.
Yep.
I'm very comfortable in my own skin.
Yes, you are, but you're 26.
Go on.
Shouldn't be listening to this music.
Well, I guess I kind of hear you, but also I think this is like what my dad listened to.
You were in the first percentile of age there, aside from people who brought their children. Yeah,
there were some children there,
right?
Which was shocking.
Yes, that happens more frequently than you would expect. I would rather listen to pop country ahead
we're done
of
with you. Yeah,
this.
We're done with that.
I'm wearing on my head a Drain t-shirt, which is a California hardcore
Hold
band.
on, you're wearing on your head a Drain t-shirt or hat?
Hat is what I meant.
Okay.
And the heavy music is something that does not scare me. I go to hardcore concerts quite regularly. But this is if you were to corporatize and make it as digestible as possible, this is what you get.
The sound of silence.
Joshy, why do you joy shame? Like, I feel like we kind of went through this with the halftime show. Like, why can't you just let people like what they like?
He's a big yuck of the yummer.
Yeah, no, and I'm never going to stop because criticism and critique of art has died. There's a reason why AI art is becoming more popular. There's a reason it's becoming part of movies and films and music. And the slop that is a lot of these bands should be said,
slop
this is bad. That's actually a technical term to describe the version of art we're in.
Stop trying to
right
outsmart everybody. Hold on.
Well, I'm smarter than everybody.
I'm fine. I'm fine with you criticizing it. Like, that's not my issue. But like, I just don't understand the shots at Strouf with it. Like,
well, that's
take that, Josh.
Isn't that part of the deal here?
Like, that's kind of the show, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. It's just weird to me. Like, I don't care what Strouf listens to. My problem is when, like, Strouf tries to defend it as being high art. Like, the way he talks about wrestling. Like, don't tell me that
wrestling is cooking right now.
See, this is what I mean.
And Disturbed are neck and neck. They are the similar style.
I believe Disturbed actually was the theme song of Monday Night Raw at one point.
Yes, and I wouldn't doubt that they've done sponsored music for some of the wrestlers intros. Like, that wouldn't shock me in the least.
They did. I believe they partnered with Stone Cold Steve Austin at one point.
It would make sense. But I think we are at a time in the world in general where the just enjoy stuff has boiled down to the point of where bad stuff gets held up to a standard that it doesn't deserve. There is a difference between good and bad art. Now, there is taste that does, obviously,
it's a little bit more subjective than you're spelling it out to be.
There is certainly subjectivity to it, but I can recognize that's great art.
This is Josh being smart.
I don't like it, but it is great. Then there is butt rock, which is, at this point, a panned type of music, but still really popular.
I love it.
I know guys that, this is all they listen to.
Hello.
But they're usually my dad's age.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they got, the tattoo.
And also,
what's the band with the stain? Does the sun logo?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like a sun, flamey looking on the outsides.
Godsmack.
I think that's Stained. Godsmack, you got it. Thank you.
See,
Thank you.
But that's also informative because these bands are all so similar. The difference between them is nominal.
Now,
all right,
how do you handle?
Go ahead.
I'm all in on this conversation. How do you handle them guilty pleasure stuff? There's movies that I know are bad, like The Room, one of the worst movies ever made, but I love that movie. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. It's great because it's so bad. Are you okay with people embracing the terrible?
Yes. As long as you're okay telling me, hey, this sucks and I know it. I've got, I still listen to Dave Matthews Band, which in 2025 sucks. But it was a thing I did with my friends, and it still makes me tap my toes. I know it's lame. I know it's not cool, and I know it's not critical, but it's a guilty pleasure. I watch Naked and Afraid so much. It's garbage, but I can't stop watching it. I think there is a big difference.
I would have never guessed you were a Naked and Afraid guy.
Mussolini hates it.
I mean, yeah.
And I kind of hate it about myself, but I can't stop watching.
Hey, I watch The Bachelor every Monday, Joshy. I hear you. All right. Well, that's that. I just figured Joshy would be amused by the fact I went to a Disturbed concert on the fly last night. But you actually were more supportive than I anticipated.
I like the idea of, hey, this is happening. I want to go to it. Now, would I preferred it's like anything else? Yeah.
We also got the dynamite drop in of, well, I am smarter than everybody, so. And he firmly believes that.
I don't actually believe that. In this room, I certainly believe that.
Well, not a high bar, man. Not a high bar. But good stuff there. All right, let's get into the chaos that is brewing in the National Football League. So for those that don't really get the NFL offseason, I hear you. It's really confusing. So let me break it down for you what is coming over the course of the next week or so. And then obviously all the headlines that are dropping today, which could change today, which I will explain a little bit further. So free agency opens next week. The official open of free agency is Wednesday at 11 Central, noon Eastern. But that is not the opening of teams and players can agree to contracts. That starts Monday at 11 a.m. Central. So you're going to start getting news about players leaving their old teams, signing with new teams beginning Monday.
11:01.
Right. And it's reminiscent of last year. About an hour into this thing, Josh Jacobs and the Packers had pen to paper.
Despite the tampering period being open for 60 seconds, somehow those teams and players came to contract agreements in that time.
Right away. They just knew it was meant to be, and they had the same number in mind.
Sent an email, and they said signed.
So that is what you need to know about the free agency period. It will actually open Monday, and you will start hearing about contracts Monday. They will not be official until the league year begins on Wednesday. Same with some of the trades we'll get into a bit later in one word that the Bears have made, and Deebo Samuel, which we talked about to the Commanders on Monday. That won't be official until the start of the new league year, which is technically Wednesday, but all of these negotiations and whatnot can start Monday, and trades obviously can already begin here this week. So, wide receiver recap. Let's start with Davante Adams. Davante Adams, earlier in the week, the Jets said Monday that they were open to trading him. He was owed $70 million over the course of the next 2 years. Nobody was trading for that. So therefore, the Jets made the easy decision to just say, all right, sayonara, we're done here, and release Davante Adams. Today, Tyler Lockett released.
Hold on, I do want to go back since we just mentioned the legal tampering opens Monday. Davante Adams, since he was released, along with Tyler Lockett, would be available to sign a contract this very moment if they so choose.
That is correct. That is 100% correct. So anybody that is released is open because they are wide open. They are not unrestricted free agents. They are literally just free agents. And they can sign, to Joshy's point, right now. So just some of the names that are open now as of the last hour are, as mentioned, Davante Adams. Tyler Lockett is out of Seattle after 9 seasons. Christian Kirk, after a couple of years in Jacksonville, that experiment did not work for a man that made a ton of money going to Jacksonville after leaving Arizona.
Reset the market.
He did.
He did have a 1,000-yard season and I believe 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So better than you would think, but not as good as he was.
But Jacksonville saying, adios, we're done here. So Christian Kirk
BTJ.
now on the what?
Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh, yeah, he's a
expendable.
Stud. He's a stud. Going into his second year. So all of those receivers are now on the open market. And after the Lockett news in Seattle, DK Metcalf, after the rumors we heard last week that the Packers and Seahawks have been in discussions about wide receiver DK Metcalf, has officially requested a trade. He has told Seattle he wants out of Washington State. And oh boy, we have some more breaking news, which we'll get to in just a moment. But DK Metcalf now able to seek a trade, and Seattle is going to look for a potential trade partner. Speaking of trades, a big name the Packers have been rumored to be in contact with or interested in is now off the market. Just moments ago announced by Adam Schefter, the Las Vegas Raiders and defensive end Max Crosby have agreed to a 3-year, $106.5 million extension, which includes almost $92 million guaranteed, meaning Max Crosby will stay put in Las Vegas. He will not be a Green Bay Packer. As for those receivers, though, some of them may end up being Green Bay Packers. Before we get back to the wide receivers, and we are in the midst of all this offseason chaos, damn, I really wanted Max Crosby. Didn't think it was going to happen. The Packers are not a team that makes a lot of trades.
No,
but
even
that was the guy I wanted.
Even less so than that, and I think that would have been the guy the Packers kind of circled in red ink, like, what was it from draft day?
Davante Mack.
Yes.
Davante Mack or bust, yeah.
Yes. I think that after we sort of heard that he was attending like all the general manager and head coach, all the stuff involved with that, it became pretty clear that as much as he says he wants to win and doesn't want to be on a loser, what he really wanted was $90 million guaranteed, which is fair because Max Crosby, after the end of this contract, will have a chance to ring hunt if I don't want to call it inevitability, the likelihood that the Raiders don't find themselves really in the playoffs in the time that this contract is paid for.
Yeah, exactly. So Max Crosby, while it was never like the most realistic option for the Packers, just like Myles Garrett isn't, just like Trey Hendrickson isn't, like these aren't realistic options for the Packers because this just isn't what they do. They don't trade value draft picks for proven commodities. As much as us as fans, me and Joshy as Packers fans, would like to see the Packers go, hey, Vegas, we'll give you 2 first-round picks. Give us Max Crosby, we'll sign him. They just don't really do that. And that's okay. But Max Crosby now off the table. Let's get back to the wide receiver market, though, because it is really, really interesting, the developments we've had over the course of really the last hour, but overall the last 24 hours. Davante Adams, we've spent all the time on, right? You see it if you're watching on the video stream in the top right corner, BBD, bring back Davante. All 3 of us, Hunter is kind of a quasi-Packers fan, and Josh and I, as Packers fans, are all for the Davante Adams and Packers reunion. It makes a ton of sense for the Packers. I don't know if it makes a ton of sense for Davante Adams, but it makes sense. I don't know if it makes the most sense of some of the options he'll have on the open market. The DK Metcalf thing is fascinating.
It's a wrench in our bring back Davante plans.
Yeah, our BBD campaign is certainly hurting right now. Yeah. It's like somebody just took out a Target ad or like an attack ad on us, and it's airing on all the local news stations. Because DK Metcalf, we discussed this a little bit on Friday's show when the initial rumors came out that the Packers were interested in DK Metcalf. I think everybody that's a Packers fan would be A-okay with DK Metcalf joining the Packers. He's a young receiver. He's a number 1 receiver. He is an upgrade from what you have on the roster currently. The downfall for me when it comes to the DK Metcalf and now the potential of a trade for DK Metcalf is you likely have to trade one of your wide receivers in order to acquire his services. Whereas a guy like Davante Adams, you're just signing him on the open market. You're adding him to the rotation of a Romeo Doubs, a Christian Watson when he's healthy, a Jaden Reed, a Dontavian Wicks, and Davante Adams. If you're going to trade for DK Metcalf, that will then become, it's DK Metcalf, it's Jaden Reed, it's Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs is probably a Seahawk, and we're not going to see Christian Watson until Thanksgiving. That's likely what you're looking at if you go that route. Again, I'd be okay with it. I'd be for it, but it is certainly a predicament that is a little bit different than the Davante Adams one. But now that DK Metcalf has officially requested a trade, and the Seahawks have said, hey, we're going to help you find that, I am starting to think it might no longer be Davante or bust for the Packers, something that I've been saying for weeks.
I think, first of all, the Corbin who reported it, the Seahawks beat guy, there might be some people in Wisconsin media who owe him an apology, because the news was, and the refuted news was, oh, they're going to seek a contract, it'll be fine. For him to come out now and say, no, that means to me, the news he heard about there being potential offers and potential teams interested would tell me that the Seahawks knew this, DK Metcalf knew this, and certainly the Green Bay Packers knew all along there was some level of acrimony or disagreement here that would make him available. The reason I am fine trading a Romeo Doubs is I think Romeo Doubs is done here after this season if we play the longest timeline possible. On top of that, in terms of depth and world without Christian Watson, I think it is an inevitability that the Packers draft a wide receiver in those first 3 rounds.
Agreed.
I think Goody learned the hard way through experience that you need to sort of do what you did with the transition of Driver to Jennings, Jennings to Jordy, Jordy to Davante, that DK Metcalf would give you 3-4 years if you were to acquire him and resign him to an extension, and would give you that sort of perfect overlap where we had Jordy and Davante together or Jordy and Greg Jennings together, where one was still improving and getting better and becoming a bigger portion of the offense, but there was like an official sign off. And by the time DK Metcalf is at the end of whatever extension it would be, he would just be more limited in terms of explosion and how often you want to use it. Probably still a weapon, because I think he's going to probably transition to one of those guys late in his career that just becomes a red zone target. Big body, can jump still.
Yep.
Can use
freak athlete, right?
Right. You're not going to be asking him to run 9 routes and beat everyone down the field, but he still will be able to be an asset. So it would make a lot of sense. I think the reason I like Davante so much is it is a stopgap, and it does provide you the option of at least 2 years of this. Hopefully, a guy you draft in the early portions of the draft can come in and sort of replace him, but it does limit your timeline, and it does make it riskier, because if that guy you end up drafting in this upcoming draft, that is just 50 days away, by the way, if you miss that guy, then you're sort of back at square one and hopefully we can transition to a new wide receiver one in just a single season. I think the fact that Goody is reticent, I mean, let's face it, he didn't give Davante a proper contract offer initially because of his age, because he thought he was on the backside of his career. Now, Goody ended up being wrong, but Goody also ended up getting a first-round pick and a second-round pick for Davante Adams, and just last year, a third-round pick from the Jets to acquire Davante Adams. So they did pretty all right. Things worked out in the Packers' favor that way. It depends what the offer is, because, as you know, it's a double dip, as Chewy has been calling it. You have to give up assets, and you have to re-sign. Now, I think it's informative. The market we saw for Deebo Samuel was just a 5th. Now, they are at different points of their career.
That was the point I was going to make.
But that leads me to believe second or third round pick plus a wide receiver gets it done for a DK.
So let me just ask you this. Is something you are comfortable with trading Romeo Doubs and a third-round pick to Seattle for DK Metcalf? Is that something you'd sign off on?
I slammed the let's do it button instantly. I don't even really think twice. And then I'm
a tad hesitant.
I'd pay DK fair market amount. I don't know what he's getting offered from the Seahawks. I do imagine the team that acquires him will have a pretty good idea, so they'll know beforehand, will we able to get it, will we not be able to get an extension done?
Yeah.
I don't think the Packers are in a unique spot where I think their draft capital is minimally valuable as it's ever been to them. Meaning they have so much depth and so many young players that they're going to have to make some decisions on who they can even pay to keep around and who would even be able to be a factor. Like, you can't really add a lot of guys to the linebacker room, to the safety room. You've got room in the offensive line. The defensive line, you got some room. But, like, wide receiver, aside from adding, like, you can add another guy, and that's about it before you start having to make decisions of, is this a practice squad player?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's ultimately going to be the case with some of the draft picks this year because there's so many guys under contract already where, you know, your 6th-round pick might not make the roster now.
Right. There's not a lot of guys leaving.
No.
And we've seen 2 of them come back, and the kicker
Brandon McManus and Isaiah McDuffie. Exactly. So on DK Metcalf, and I saw this comment on one of the YouTube channels. A lot coming in right now, obviously. A busy day. So just want to make sure I get the name right here. Michael says, why are people so high on DK? It's several reasons, right? Number one, he's obviously a talented wide receiver. He's a number 1 wide receiver. He's better than anybody the Packers have on the roster. The other part of DK that I think Packers fans need to fall in love with is how durable he is. Mm-hmm. He has played 6 years in the NFL. The least amount of games he's ever played in a season is 15. And that was this year. He played 15 of their 17 games in 2024. 16 games in 23, all 17 in 22 and 21. Played 16 in 2020. I think that was still a 17-game season in 2020. Or was that still a 16-game season? Played 16 that year, played 16 in his rookie year of 2019. So 6 years in the league. Here are his minimum stat lines. Worst in terms of receiving yards he's ever had was 900. That was his rookie year.
He's had best on the Packers.
Right. He has had between 900 and 1,000 yards 3 times, including 992 yards this past year. Was the highest 3-digit receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
The highest amount without reaching that 1,000-yard threshold. He has been over 1,000 yards 3 times, including a 1,300-yard season in 2020 when he was a second-team All-Pro. So 3-time 1,000-yard receiver in 6 years, but has never gone under 900 yards. That's pretty darn impressive for a guy that's been in the league for 6 years. He has had 7, 10, 12, 6, 8, 5 in terms of touchdowns, so a career low this year in touchdown catches. But still, 992 yards, 66 receptions. Has never had less than 58 receptions, which was his rookie year. Has been over 60 every year since. And as I mentioned, he's durable. He's healthy. He doesn't get hurt very often, knock on wood. So that is what makes him appealing, because you look at Christian Watson, who, when he's been on the field, been very talented for the Packers. But that's when he's been on the field. He's dealt with the injuries through his early portions of his career. Romeo Doubs, 2 concussions in 2024, missing some time. And again, when he's been on the field, he's been pretty productive. He's been a nice piece for this Packers offense. But DK Metcalf gives you a bona fide number 1 option, which is clearly what the Packers desperately need after what happened in 2024. So this option makes sense. Now, what I'm just trying to wrap my brain around is BBD. How do we make it something DK?
BBDK.
Well, not bring, but it wouldn't be bring back.
BIDK?
Yeah, BIDK, bring in DK.
I'm trying to be careful here so I don't acronym myself into something that's inappropriate, but I think we're clear.
BIDK?
Yeah.
Well,
also think...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, according to the Madison office, we already did with this, but I don't know.
We already did what?
Inappropriate?
Bring back Davante.
Oh, yeah, BBD can certainly be
yes.
Yeah.
We're talking about the news.
Tell your Madison teammates and our
gutters.
Madison teammates.
Mines and gutters.
Get their mind out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been doing. I've had to defend myself for like the last 2 weeks now.
We're defending our honor.
We are adults on this program.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to take for people to realize that, but if
don't listen to the end of Monday's program.
Don't do that. Don't listen to the end of most of our programs. But if you don't listen to the show, you can go ahead and say we are the most mature show on ESPN Wisconsin.
Also, there's no elegant way to put this, but DK's a grown-ass man.
He sure is.
He makes plays. He makes explosive plays. He wins 50-50 balls.
I thought that was eloquent.
It is. He would provide an explosive factor. He would instantly, obviously, replace Christian Watson. That vertical, I don't know if people understand how important the vertical aspect is to any Shanahan-style offense, and specifically the one Matt LaFleur is running. Matt LaFleur has fallen over himself to tell you how much it is important to have a deep threat and how important Christian Watson was, him specifically. What you get in DK Metcalf is the good version of Christian Watson, not only in durability, but in literal receiving skills. He is what you would hope Christian Watson could eventually turn into. Now we're year 3 in that experiment, and we haven't been close. What it would do is offer Christian Watson sort of an opportunity here. Here, learn from a guy that you should model your entire career off of. This is the vision you should have. And we would love to have you two on opposite sides of each other. Imagine that. I mean, I said it on Monday. That would bring horror to defensive coordinators' minds. Those two guys as options that are both as likely to take a slant 70 yards as they are to run past you for a 70-yard touchdown. So it is not only becoming the wide receiver one, not only becoming a reliable target, it is strategically, game plan style, a massive advantage and a skill set that is very hard to find in terms of big body and extreme speed.
I have thrown a poll in the field on Twitter at Alex_Strouf and on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube stream. You can only have one. Who do you want? Davante Adams or DK Metcalf? On both polls, DK Metcalf leading the way early.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I would rather have.
What is your reticence about DK? Are you pot committed to the BBD life?
I'm bit committed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually do think, and I mean, you can take this as a joke. You can laugh at me, whatever you want to do. I'm a Packers fan at the end of the day. I'm probably being a little bit too emotional about Davante's potential return. Right? He's one of my favorite Packers ever.
You're talking storyline, I almost made an inappropriate joke about divorced parents, but I figured that would be... Well, you just verbalized it, so you might as well make the joke now. It would be your divorced parents coming back together and living a happy life.
Well, that would never happen.
I didn't mean yours in that situation. I meant the general yours. But I realized the reason I didn't make it is out of respect to you, of course.
Well, thanks.
But then you still made it anyways.
And he made it anyways.
Just to kick Strouf while he's down here too a little bit.
Here we go.
I'm going through the list of just the NFL, and I think about if I'm Davante, where would I go? Green Bay or these other teams? And all of these teams, I'm like, I'd rather go and play there. Like Buffalo, rather be playing for Buffalo. They're closer to a Super Bowl than the Packers are. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, depending on what they do at quarterback, that's an iffy one.
They don't have a quarterback yet.
Yeah, they're iffy. But
I mean, the Chiefs are.
Yeah, Houston and then Kansas City and LA are the other AFC teams.
Yeah, I think the one thing I talked about in Jen, Gabe, and Chewy 7 to 9, ESPN Wisconsin, ESPN Milwaukee, sorry, finally produced program, by the way. But I discussed what I fear when it comes to Davante is there is mutual interest, but Commanders, a Rams, a Chiefs, one of those Bills contenders comes in and goes, yes, you have a deal for $20 million for the next 2 years, like $20 million a year for the next 2 years. Yes, that's a good deal, but here's 26. And Davante can look at it and go, as much as I would like to be here, and I liked my time in Green Bay, why would I turn down $12 extra million? And that might be, as we know, Brian Gutekunst isn't going to overpay. In terms of, especially in a situation where I don't think he feels desperation. I think he feels there's a need.
Yeah. And the other, what was the word you used? Reticence?
Reticence.
Nice. Good for me. Because I don't know that I want to give up a piece. Yeah. Well, you didn't need to point that out, Hunter.
We heard it.
I don't know that I want to give up a piece in order to acquire a wide receiver.
You seem hung up on Romeo Doubs, and the Romeo Doubs ship for me has fully sailed.
I don't know that I'd go fully. I understand why you would say it's starting to sail.
I'm barely seeing the mast over the horizon. It's so far in the distance.
Yeah, but that's Love's guy is the thing, right? Like if Love has a guy, which I think it's probably too soon to say he does, it's Romeo Doubs. Not to say he's irreplaceable. That's not at all
Romeo Doubs is Jordan Love's guy the same way Alan Lazard is Aaron Rodgers' guy. They have a connection. Doesn't really matter much. It isn't that important. It isn't that impactful. Wouldn't you rather Dontavian Wicks or Jaden Reed become that guy?
Of course. Jaden Reed, right? Like, Jaden Reed's my guy. I want him to be the guy. it's clear he's not the guy right now. And that's why you need to go get a guy like DK Metcalf or Davante Adams, who now hit the open market. Just some quick cleanup on some of those other names that have hit the open market. You're out on Tyler Lockett?
Yes, too old.
As am I. Christian Kirk?
Yes.
If he's cheap, I'd be open to it.
Yes, he missed a lot of the season with injury.
Not an ACL, though, right? I don't think it was an ACL.
So. I just don't think he is. I think he comes in and sort of adds to the mix of Wicks, Dobbs, Reed.
It doesn't give you a bona fide number one, which is what.
It's unclear who is even the top dog in that situation by the time game one starts.
All right, let's get to some of this reaction. ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. The comment section is open for you. I want to hear from you on this. DK Metcalf requesting a trade. Davante Adams on the open market. The poll is in the field on YouTube. About 20 votes there. 75% of 15 of you say DK Metcalf you'd rather have over Davante Adams. Thanks, Joshy. Mm-hmm. Little over 40 votes on the Twitter poll at Alex_Strouf, STROUF. DK Metcalf leads the way 70%. So seemingly Packers fans more open to DK Metcalf than they are Davante Adams.
I am curious how much of that is the Packers fans just believing it's more likely DK because of the age than it is like who they actually think would be a better wide receiver one in 2025. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Jedi mind trick I find myself sometimes trying to, am I just doing this because I think it's more likely and I won't have my heart broken, or is this actually better for the football team throughout the season?
I think that's why Davante to me is better for the football team. I think he's a better route runner. I think he's a bigger threat. I think now timeline, DK Metcalf would be around longer than I think Davante Adams would, because I think you're signing him to a short-term deal, and then his career's probably over. Where DK just turned 27 years old. He's probably got 4, 5, 6 years left. Mm-hmm. Good years left, that is, in Green Bay. So he's probably a longer-term commitment, whereas I think Davante serves as kind of that stopgap, which I think would work for Green Bay, right? Like, your hope is still that a Jaden Reed or a Dontavian Wicks or a Christian Watson or a Romeo Dobbs evolves into a great NFL receiver. I think especially three of them, and Wicks, Watson, once he comes back from the ACL, and hopefully he's the same or better, and Reed, they are capable of evolving into that. They're just still so young. So that's why I think the stopgap thing with Davante makes sense, where, okay, 2 years, he is, he serves as that number one receiver. Who made the analogy you read to me earlier? Somebody made the analogy of, it's like learning from the...
Brian Bulaga.
Brian Bulaga said it's like going to med school and learning from the best doctor in the world.
Yes.
Which is an amazing analogy. Probably a little strong.
First time it's ever been made, by the
way. Yes. Probably a little strong, but it's a good analogy nonetheless. From the Tribe says, man, we can afford to get both, though, for real. I agree. You do have the ability to get both. I think you can trade for DK, sign him to an extension, and sign Davante on a smaller deal. Now, that would eat up most of your cap space.
Yes.
You can. It's not happening.
Difference between can and should.
Correct. And I think the right move here is acquire one of the two of these guys and then draft a receiver.
Yes.
But if you're trading for DK, you lose that third-round pick, which feels like kind of the round you would go get somebody, but maybe you go second round after going corner early, but then your hopes are you address edge in the offseason. Last thought on this before we get to the blueprint of the offseason.
If the Packers had only one need and it was wide receiver, it would make sense. But the cornerback market, we've talked about DJ Reed. We've seen the Packers linked to Charvarius Ward. They are going to be players in that market and spenders in that market. It would knock you out of that, and you would be kind of bargain hunting then, which Goody's shown he has ability to do. But no, you can't have Dontavian Wicks as wide receiver 5 by the end of the season.
Correct.
That's not how you make a team work.
No, it is not. You are correct on that. Can't bury him in the depth chart like that.
Right.
So, all right, we will see. All right, let's get to this, because obviously as we continue to have all these conversations about the potentials and the opportunities that are out there with the wide receiver market, I want to know what Joshy and myself, and Hunter, if you want to pitch in as well, what the ideal way to address each of those needs is in the offseason. So wide receiver, edge, and corner. So, for example, we just said it with wide receiver. I think we would agree on this, Joshy, is you get a proven commodity, whether that's DK Metcalf or Davante Adams, and then draft a receiver day 2. right? I think that is the right way to approach wide receiver.
If they fall in love with a guy and decide to break the 20-year curse of not drafting wide receiver,
They're not doing it.
I agree. I think it's unlikely. I think they view that position as not as premium as edge rusher, offensive line, cornerback. But there is a potential, like we've seen McMillan from Arizona fall to the bottom half. Now, if Goody and the squad have a top 10 grade on that guy and say the concerns you guys have about athletic testing we don't care about, that's a situation that makes sense. We remember Brandon Ayuk. They tried to go up and get him. They were unable to. It's a possibility, but it is unlikely. But if we are to continue the conversation you were having, it is day 1 or 2, one of those guys that you think can not make an instant impact, but a quick impact. A guy who you put a lot of stock into, which, I mean, they did with Jaden Reed. He's a 3rd-round pick. That's a guy you're going to be counting on, and you sort of know that right away. So anything past that, you start to wonder, well, maybe if this guy kind of accelerates his behavior or his abilities, he might make his way onto the field.
Just real quick, Jaden Reed was the 18th pick of the second round. Second round pick
second
for Jaden
round.
Reed. Yeah, 50th pick overall. So I guess that would be the 17th? No, 18th pick of the second round.
Yep.
So yeah, second round pick, mid-second round pick. I would imagine they could do something similar at wide receiver.
Yep.
Brings me to corner, which I think you have to do the same thing.
It's almost, I would copy and paste your plan.
Yep, agreed. Sign a guy in free agency, and whether that's a top-of-the-line guy like DJ Reed, who I've very much been on the record of, that's my free agency crush. Travarius Ward is another interesting name, a proven guy who can be a top-end corner, and then draft one. Now, for this one, rather than copy-paste the day 2 thing, this is where I would spend your first-round pick.
I disagree. I think you can get away with 4th or 5th round for that. Because if you add Ward, you have Nixon, you have Valentine. You can take a shot on a guy you think might not be able to contribute right away. Maybe he does by the end of the season. But if he fails or not, is not going to sink your ship.
It's fair.
I just think the depth there and the multiplicity that a guy like Javon Bullard provides, where he can play in the slot and you can feel pretty good about it. Keyshawn Nixon can play in the slot or outside, you feel pretty good about it. I think most teams in the NFL would be pretty excited about Carrington Valentine as their 3rd option.
Totally agree, and I hope that's what the Packers end up being.
Yeah.
Is excited about him as their 3rd option. Now, am I thrilled about Keyshawn Nixon as the 2nd option?
I think we're discounting how well he played.
I'd rather him outside, though, or in the slot, right? Like, be the nickel.
I thought he actually played better outside than he did inside. I mean, this guy has his story of going from a special teamer kick returner to now a guy who...
Good corner.
You didn't point at him and go, oh no, we have no chance.
Not often.
Right. So that, to me, if you're able to improve the defensive line and pass rush, even small amount. If you become the 26th in terms of pass rush win rate and you go to 18th, I bet those guys look even better.
Yeah. That's fair. Now, edge is the one I'm really torn on. It sounds like you'd probably spend a 1st-round pick here.
I would like the 1st-round pick to be a defensive lineman. I think a defensive tackle is fine.
Okay.
But I would want that guy to not be a run stuffer, which it doesn't really happen in the 1st round anymore. But a guy who can get after the cornerback from an interior position. If the edge position makes sense and it's high on the board, then yeah, fine. I'm cool with it. I'm not by any means worried about LVN losing snaps. I'm not really worried about anybody behind Devontae Wyatt losing snaps. Like, you guys haven't proven you need to be on the field more.
Yep.
So, as many assets as you can throw there, and I don't want to fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. Just because you've drafted and invested in edge doesn't mean you have to keep what you don't have to, like, oh, no, well, we already paid so much. No.
Right.
Go out there and fix it. I don't care what it costs. Get better.
I'm with you. Get better. We talked about it a little bit on Monday, and you said it was a poor example, but I'm going to use it again here today. When you look at what Washington did over the weekend, trading for Deebo Samuel after appearing in an NFC Championship game, they're wasting no time in getting better. The Packers are a team that is certainly a playoff team. Are they championship good right now? Probably not quite there. Don't get left behind over the course of the next week, right? look at teams that are making moves and getting better. Shoot, even the Chicago Bears are taking swings. And by no means do I view them as the biggest threat in the NFC North to the Packers.
You're not going to get excited about a couple offensive linemen coming to town?
We talked about it off the air a little bit. Caleb Williams still needs to learn how to play NFL quarterback,
yes.
right? And offensive linemen certainly will help with that a little bit, but the guy is still too much of an improviser, holds the ball too long. That's why he gets sacked so much. But to a point, they're improving their offensive line. Credit to them, right? They're getting better, though. I think is ultimately the point. They are moving urgently in order to improve their roster. So if the Packers want to stay in the conversation, not to say Chicago is, but Washington obviously is, you need to make moves in order to avoid getting left behind.
I think it's less so even worrying about what the Commanders are doing. It's we had a glaring deficiency. We need that thing to be better in 2025, and the price we pay is going to be worth it if we improve there. Because there was the things we've talked about, and corner, really, the only reason we're talking about it, we're not talking about it because we were disappointed with the play from that position group, is you lost Jair Alexander, and he's no longer even an option, where last year he was. The defensive line and the pass rush was the biggest issue you could point to on the team. And then right after that was the wide receiver position. So those are things where you cannot enter 2025 with just hoping a mid-level draft pick, a fourth or fifth rounder, is going to come in to make an impact. Mm-hmm. And pass rushers, unless you're getting them in free agency or via trade, they usually don't matter after the first round. It is few and far between where those guys are truly different makers in the second round or later.
That's a good point.
If you think about all the good guys.
That's what I'm doing in my head right now. I'm struggling to get there.
And they're most often a top 5 pick, but TJ Watt was a later when we're towards the middle.
But first round.
So you can only really blend that athleticism and production that you can find. That really only happens in the first round unless you're going to like a small school guy.
I'm really intrigued to see what this DK Metcalf package looks like, no matter if it's the Packers or another team.
I just don't want to see a trade happen and go, well, I would have done that. Yeah. That's what I fear. Now, that could go away if they signed Davante. I could disagree with the decision making of one cost versus the other, but at least something happened to you. Went a different path. You thought it was better. Who am I to really question a general manager? I'm not grinding tape and looking behind the scenes.
Don't sell yourself short. You're grinding tape over there.
I do, but not the same way. I go, oh, that guy's sick.
That's all the analysis I need. All right, keep those thoughts coming. ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube. You can also get me on Twitter at Alex_Strouf. Davante, DK, and hit me with what your offseason blueprint, the ideal offseason blueprint for you is on how to attack wide receiver, edge, and corner, because those seem to be the 3 positions for me that need to be upgraded in some sort of way, shape, or form. Joseph S. chimes in, says, DJ Reed is only 5'9", no thanks. And then Nugget chimes in, how many tall corners did we draft that were cheeks? Kevin King, Eric Stokes, etc. Cheeks.
Yeah, I guess I don't fall victim to we drafted this type of guy, so now they all are going to be that type of guy.
I just really appreciated the use of the word cheeks.
Yeah, but I see that a lot where it's like, well, we drafted the athletic guy. Maybe we should draft less athletic. What do you mean? You want to be less explosive on your football team?
Right.
That's a desire? Like, there's plenty of tall cornerbacks that have succeeded. I think the reason DJ Reed isn't even a consideration, because the Packers they prefer size at that position.
They do.
They have thresholds. Justice Mosqueda from Packing Company puts it out every single year. Here are the guys that fit that. But they do branch out. But DJ Reed proved his 5'9" stature is hardly a factor in his play. There are some guys where it's evident that you're undersized, this isn't going to work. DJ Reed was better than Sauce Gardner last year. And Sauce Gardner's a big boy.
Sure is.
Tall.
He is. Whew. Okay. A lot happened there. I'm exhausted.
Anytime you start talking draft, my speech patterns pick up.
Oh, yeah.
My brain starts
You got
firing.
a little Mel Kiper in you.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Now, I just, what I mean by a lot has happened in the last 50 minutes is we've covered a lot of ground.
Oh, yeah.
This is a really fun time of the offseason when this starts picking up.
Everything's an option right now.
I would just like to remind everybody.
Anything's possible.
Jason Wilde is going to join us Monday.
Whoa.
Which he did a year ago. And that was the moment we found out the Packers signed Josh Jacobs. So Monday's show is going to be one you need to tune into. And I recommend tuning in live. If you listen on the podcast feed, I love you for it. Monday is one of those shows, though, where the news cycle is spinning really, really, really fast.
If, proposal here, we're doing off-air stuff on air. Say the Packers sign a big free agent before the start of the show. Can we negotiate an extended version of Mr. Irrelevant?
That negotiation is already underway.
Great.
And you would be a part of it, so don't worry.
Well, I figured. I wasn't doing it just for you. Doing it for myself and then the fans.
Every Wednesday, Hunter comes up with a list of different topics and storylines and things going on around the sports world and beyond. And I respond to giving one word, sometimes more, but we call it One Word Wednesday, where I respond rapid fire style to a bunch of different topics. Hunter, what do we got this week on One Word Wednesday?
We start in the NBA. LeBron and Luka combined for 64 points and the Lakers' 7th straight victory.
Dare I say the word favorites? This Lakers team is unbelievable. They're really fun to watch again. Luka is, we knew this already. Luka's one of the best players in the world. LeBron is still legitimately unbelievable at age, what is he, 40, 41?
Something like that.
LeBron is putting up numbers he put up 15 years ago. So this has been a fun winning streak to watch. Now that Luka's there, it's somehow made the Lakers a little bit more likable, but I view them as the favorites in the Western Conference, to be real honest with you. As much as I love the Thunder and some of the other teams in the Western Conference, I think the Lakers are the favorite.
The Chicago Bears have traded for O-lineman Jonah Jackson and Pro Bowler Joe Thuney.
Upgrade is the word, right? Urgency could be another word. It's a team that's looking to get better, to build off of what was kind of an underwhelming year, ultimately, that saw them fire their head coach. It's a new head coach this year for them, but it is the second year of the Caleb Williams experiment, and they are looking to get the most results out of it. This is a good way to do it, so I will use the word upgrade here.
Travis Hunter said that playing both sides of the ball in football is harder than Shohei Ohtani pitching and hitting in the same game in baseball.
I got this one. Wrong.
I was actually going to go the other direction.
No, you're an idiot.
Now, no. Hold on. Let me explain. To do it at a really, really high level, it's harder what Shohei is doing. Because Shohei is one of the best players we've ever seen.
He is both a top 5 pitcher, top 10 pitcher, and hitter.
Yeah.
I don't think what we saw from Travis Hunter last year was top 10 wide receiver in college football.
No, but top 10 corner.
Yes.
And he's not going to play it in the league. I would be shocked if they have him playing both in the league.
Yeah, I've seen some rumors come out that some people actually have him as like a top 5 wide receiver.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, but probably means they are going to, each team, whoever drafts him is going to have him as a starting corner, and then he plays 10 to 15.
So, I guess to go back to these comments, I disagree with the example. Right, Shohei is a very bad example for this.
Yeah, he's already a Hall of Famer.
But I hear the point he's trying to make, right? Like the exhaustion that goes with playing corner and wide receiver. I hear you.
You would probably run a marathon in faster time, Travis.
Yeah,
your endurance is better.
Yeah.
In terms of skills, no.
Yeah, and that's where I disagree. So I'm with you on that. What's next?
The next FIFA World Cup will have a halftime show in the championship.
Okay.
I thought they did.
Story from Copenhagen. 3 piglets that were being allowed to starve in an art exhibition called And Now You Care have been stolen from the art museum.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't understand the example we're setting.
You can, come on, figure this out. there are things in front of you that are starving,
Right.
and now that it is in front of your eyes, you are objected to it.
Right, I
If
understand
it is
that.
behind the scenes, you would not. There are people starving every single day.
Yes, as the
but
art
since you don't have
museum-
to view them.
Yep. The
Yeah,
art
but why are
museum
we starving
explained
pigs
that when pigs are born, usually like the litter or whatever they call the group that is born, there's about 20 of them born. Most pigs only have 14 teats, so then 6 of them would usually end up starving anyway. But now that it's in front of you, you care. So it was a statement on mass meat production. So,
Oh,
there you go.
Okay, well, I'm curious where they went.
yeah, they don't know
Who
yet.
would steal them? How do you
Probably to a farm.
how do you how do you steal piglets? Like what vehicle do you drive?
Well, piglets are small.
Yeah,
I
piglets
understand
are
that, but
like,
you can't just like put them in the passenger seat, can you?
yes,
Sure you can.
yeah, they're like the size of like a puppy.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Hey, you scoop those suckers up, take them right out.
Scoop
Yeah.
those suckers up in
Pigs
the
will eat anything too. Just
like
throw it on some McD's. They'll have a good time.
sort of some McD's.
The second annual Florida Man Games is happening in Elkton, Florida, and is being emceed by friend of show Che Dorena.
Oh, that seems like a good gig for him.
Yes, on brand.
What are the Florida Man Games? I didn't know there was a first annual.
You compete for a snakeskin belt, and then they have different competitions like a lawnmower race, or I think there was like a gator toss, and some different things like that to celebrate the whole Florida Man story.
I'll tell you one thing right here.
Redneck is the word.
I don't like it because I don't like the Florida mans becoming self-aware.
Yeah.
It's better when we point and laugh.
Yes, that's a really good point by you.
I don't like them embracing
I guess
being Florida men.
I guess for those that aren't aware, the term Florida Man began because when you would hear an absurd news story that somebody was arrested for something outrageous, like something you'd never heard of, it seemingly always came from the state of Florida
You know why that is?
because people are
Yep.
crazy in Florida.
No.
No, it is just because they are more open with their public records and publicizing the actual perpetrators of crime. So
my take on Florida was incorrect.
if you were to
Their crime rates are the same as the national
Wisconsin-
average.
Yeah, in Wisconsin, you can look up a lot of this stuff, and if it's just the way they make that information available. It's more work for us, but I think you would be equally horrified with the people of Wisconsin as you are of Florida. The interesting thing they do have, though, is sometimes it involves like wildlife and like alligators and snakes and exotic animals. That is sort of Florida specific. You can get some of that in Ohio too, and even in Wisconsin you can have exotic animals, which is hard to believe. But they do have the special Everglades kind of out in the wild still aspect in addition to the logistical stuff.
Since Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets, they have spent more in those 4 years than the Miami Marlins, Pittsburgh Pirates, and Tampa Bay Rays have over the last 21 years.
Wow.
I'm just happy the Brewers weren't in that.
Yeah, I was really expecting the
Yep,
Brewers to be
so
listed
was
up. Urgency, that's where I'll use that word. Steve Cohen bought the team. He wanted to spend money. He wanted to win championships. They're well on their way. Urgency is the name. The word, rather.
I just watched Nick Collins do a pick six in the Super Bowl against the Steelers.
Great. Since Kyle Kuzma joined the Milwaukee Bucks, they are 8-2.
Back!
Kuz.
The Bucks are back, man. I mean, they've been a really fun watch, even without Bobby. They are so much more athletic and versatile than they were prior to the trade deadline. I sincerely apologize to Kyle Kuzma. I was wrong.
Yeah, we got to
been
change
that
that promo.
Yes.
I think his availability has obviously been much needed. Has his
Agreed.
shooting improved? Because that was kind of the thing we're all talking about.
I mean, he's been good, right? And the Bucks needed kind of like a third scoring option. I don't know that he's consistently been that, right? Like Gary Trent's had some nice games in this 10-game stretch. Kevin Porter Jr., KPJ's had some nice games off the bench in this stretch. They're just younger and more athletic. And, maybe something that I've emphasized for years, it feels like, is a third scoring option. I don't know that you need a consistent third because you have options now, which is a good thing to have.
And I think his volume has gone down from what it was when he was in Washington. So
Definitely.
It's like his percentages are about the same, but because the volume is down, he's become more efficient. So then you're having less empty possessions and things like that. If we want to get hardcore basketball, I've got a couple more here.
That's as good as we need.
College basketball. Buzz Williams, former Marquette coach, and Texas A&M upset number 1 Auburn 83-72.
Hey, man. March is the word. Every team is prone to upsets. And, we're not quite to conference tournament time for them, but I think it's good that Auburn's getting it out of the system because they will be, I think, no matter what happens to them down the stretch into the SEC tournament, they will be the number 1 overall seed. And they are the best team in the country. So good for Buzz, good for A&M. Doesn't change a ton for me. I still think Auburn's the bona fide favorite in NCAA March Madness and college basketball this year. But March is our word.
And finally, the Green Bay Packers signed Brandon McManus to a 3-year, $15 million contract. So we shouldn't see a kicker competition turning him into a head case, right?
Yeah, Hunter's anti-kicker competition, if you remember that. Brilliant take by him months ago. But Brandon McManus back at Green Bay. The word here is relief for me. It's just, you're relieved. You don't have to go through this again. The whole Braden Narvison, Anders Carlson nonsense is over and done with. You have an option who is good, reliable, and a veteran. So Brandon McManus back in Green Bay on a 3-year deal, by the way, which is nice, as Hunter mentioned. So good stuff there. I am relieved, and it is the right move for the Packers. Josh, you mentioned it earlier. Only 2 moves so far from the Packers, but there's still a lot of time left as free agency quickly approaches next Monday. But Isaiah McDuffie, the linebacker, is back in Green Bay on a 2-year deal, and the kicker Brandon McManus back on a 3-year deal. Let's get to this. We mentioned college basketball. Year 1 of the Doug Gottlieb experience in Green Bay is in the books. I would just like to remind everybody, this is not me being rude. It is me just pointing something out. I know you will be. This is not me being rude. I'm just going to point out something that Doug Gottlieb said to me on Sunday Karma back at the end of January, so just about a month ago, about the upcoming Horizon League tournament, which the Green Bay Phoenix lost in the first round of last night to Oakland. This is what Doug Gottlieb said about his team entering March.
I don't think anybody wants to play us. The only thing we're lacking is the having done it and won the games, completed the task. So,
yeah, that feels like a rather important part of the season is winning. They finished the year with only 4 wins, and of course in last place of the Horizon League. Now, I will tell you this: Doug Gottlieb is not going to get fired. He's not. He's going to be back in Green Bay. He's going to get another crack at this. And I think that is the right decision. Rightfully so, he has been killed this year. Right?
Right decision.
I just think it's unfair to anybody, especially the student athletes, to go from 1-year coach to 1-year coach. You need to give every coach, if you're going to make a decision and commit yourself to a coach, I think it's only fair you give them more than a season to help build it. Now, 4-28 is awful. No way of slicing that any other direction.
Is it different when your coach has another full-time job that you could very clearly point to being a detriment to the one you employ him for?
Now, I asked him in the same interview you just heard from, I asked him if anything would be different, and he said no.
You want to bet the record's not a lot different next year?
No. I don't know why I even had to think about it. I think they win more than 4 games, but do I think they're 28-4 all of a sudden? No.
I would go all the way up to, like, they could win 10 games and it would still be worth firing them in the second year.
So I agree. He needs to have a massive turnaround if he's going to see year 3. But year 2 is going to be a definite thing. At one point this season, they went on the longest losing streak in the country of 21 games. They finished their season though. 2-4.
Should have busted out that sage earlier.
2-4 in the at the end of the season. Yeah. So what Joshy's referring to, I actually did not see this until you told me about it yesterday. A couple weeks ago, prior to their win after that 21-game losing streak to Wright State, which they won 79-68. That was back on February 16th, a couple days after Valentine's Day. Doug Gottlieb walked through the gym with sage to get rid of all the bad energy, and it worked. They won the next game. So, yeah, you should break out the sage a little bit earlier. So I am not anti-Gottlieb. I actually don't think he's... Look, was he the most qualified for the position? No. Of course not. Is he maybe the best option that Green Bay could come up with? Probably not. But does he know basketball? Yeah, he does. And is he going to hopefully help this team improve?
I think
yes.
a 4-28 record would make sense to question his basketball acumen. I think
injuries all over the place this year.
I think anybody who goes 4 of 28, you are within your right to question acumen.
I won't argue with that.
I believe Alex Strouf could get them to at least a 2-win season.
So you think I'm worse than him?
Well, you have
obviously.
You didn't play college basketball.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Even though you lie about
familiar.
being an NBA guy, like you're not that guy, pal.
I know basketball.
Are you Mr. March yet?
Oh yeah, I've been Mr. March since a week ago.
Since February?
Since February, I've been Mr. March. What are you talking about?
I just feel like if they don't get off to a semi-decent start at the beginning of the year, they've got an assistant coach in Jordan McCabe, who is a Fox Valley legend for what he did in high school with Kakana, waiting there. And I know it's a weird thing to do,
I
but
just
like,
don't know if he's ready.
But if they only win one game between the start of the season and Christmas,
it's a good
like
point.
who cares if he's not ready? He's got to do better than that.
Clearly, Doug Gottlieb wasn't ready.
All right, fair. You learn something new every day. I learned something new today. It's time now for what we learned. I learned that it's really hard to defend Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah.
I'm shocked you're still
really
doing it.
hard to do. I hate to admit this out loud. I did place American currency on the Green Bay Phoenix last night.
Ah, jeez.
Why?
You would be better just lighting it on fire.
They were 10 and a
Heating your
half.
home.
They were 10.5 point underdogs. I thought maybe they'd cover.
Yeah, this is the time to believe in the fighting Gottliebs.
I'm a Gottliebers.
I literally messaged someone when I saw they were 10.5 point dogs and said, maybe I drive over to Pato and I put a significant amount of money on Oakland.
How much did they lose by?
23.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey.
Like, they were never in that
24, they
game.
lost by.
Do you know how hard it is as a 4-win basketball team to undersell your point spread by 13 points? You have to be real bad.
And they are.
Real bad.
And they are. The other thing I learned, we are 50 days away from the draft.
50 days.
I got my package in the mail yesterday, Josh. I got a new draft hat. I got a coffee mug.
From your friends at the Packers Pro Shop?
Jeez.
Indeed.
Is Kyle
I
going
got
to
a
be
pint
jealous
glass.
again?
No. I paid for these. I paid for this.
Okay.
Hey, speaking of Wisconsin, Zach Bond back in Philadelphia, 3-year deal. And I also got I got a little. Oh, it's all stuck. Hold on. Got a little bottle opener.
Did you spend like $100 on Green Bay draft merch?
You know he
80.
did.
80. Well,
Well, then with
shipping, so I was
taxes,
just
it's
gonna get the
100.
hat.
Free shipping. Oh.
I was just gonna get the hat, but then shipping was like $12. So I was like, well, if I get up to 75,
Why would I spend $12 if I could just spend $50 more and get free shipping?
You are the most fascinating human being I've ever met.
yeah, but like it's a once in a lifetime event in my hometown. So I'm like, okay, if I get a pint glass, I'll have it forever. If I get a coffee mug, I'll have it forever. If I get a keychain bottle opener, I'll have it forever.
So I fall victim to whenever I'm ordering a singular item off of Amazon, as an Amazon Prime member, they'll be like, hey, you're spending $12. If you spend 13 more and get to 25, we can do same day or next day delivery.
Yeah.
And I usually find myself tacking on like a book that I have saved that I eventually plan to read, but it's like I have a long list of books. You decide, well, my $30 purchase of a hat and mug, if I get it up to $80, they'll send me the sucker for free.
Exactly.
So in effect, you spent $50 more,
40
more dollars to get free shipping.
Yeah, but I also got a pint glass, and coffee mug, and a can opener.
You're pretty good at math.
I got other things.
Saving the $12 shipping, I don't think was worth it.
Yeah. I disagree. I was happy
Plus,
with my purchases.
didn't you just signed a lease to a new apartment? There's a security deposit with that. Like,
yeah, I'm good.
oh, okay. So you're
fine.
spending the girlfriend's money. I understand. I get it.
No,
My
I'm
wife
spending money. What are you
makes more
talking
than
about
me.
here?
I know what's happening here. Okay, I get it.
Wow, accusations.
Wow.
I know
spending
what
my
happened
money.
here. It
No,
all
you
added
don't,
up.
clearly.
Interesting move. Usually when you commemorate something, you get one or two things. You just said, "Give me the store."
I said, give me something I can wear all day. Give me something I can drink out of in the morning. Give me something I can drink out of after I get home from work.
Yeah.
And give me something to open the thing I'm
drinks
going to
with.
drink I'm going to have after work. I think this was a responsible purchase.
I now think that
Unless you have a
your
miserable time
purchase-
for some reason at the draft and you never want to remember that it was in Green Bay because you get like a flat tire and it's a bad time for you. And the Packers
We could
trade out
organize
of the
that.
first round. Like,
I think not only your extra spending to get the $12 free shipping, I think your purchases will incur even more costs because you're going to be finding reasons to use your bottle opener, finding reasons to use your mug, and finding reasons to use your pint glass that didn't prior exist. You're going to try and justify your purchases by spending even more.
Strouf
I've got
would
a
never do
complete
that.
side
Come
note.
on.
Something's I think I broke something in our studio.
Oh, jeez.
I don't really know how to explain this on the air, but I'm going to try. So we use a website to monitor our text line, 800-990-3776, the Carbless Talking text line. I sent a note yesterday to our own number, or 2 days ago maybe, to our own number, just to so I had it on the computer, so I just sent it to myself. The text line has now gone into a spiral of self-responding to, hey, hello from ESPN Milwaukee, click to activate your account. This will allow you to send messages. There has been 6,000 messages sent in the last 5 minutes.
Strouf's getting fired.
The list. Do you see the red thing at the top?
Yeah, that's been there for days, though. Prior to me doing that.
So it says we've ran out of our data usage for March.
All right, well, we gotta go.
Strouf's getting fired.
1,000? No.
13,000%.
13,000%.
That was already there. I promise.
There have been now
12,000. It's broken. I gotta go fix this. All right, we're hopefully back with you Friday, beginning at 12:30. Who knows?
It might just be me and Hunter after you get fired.
Peace.